Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, Carlita. All right, let's get.
Hey,
Hi,
can you
how
hear
you
me okay?
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I like your background.
Oh, that's my home
Your
office.
office is so nice.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
I
I
love
know I need
it.
to figure out a place to work, so, when I'm home. So, this is
Yes, yes. I'm
it.
still trying to figure that out. I live in like a little shack almost. And so it's
No.
like it's so small. I'm like in the living room, in the bedroom, in the kitchen doing work. That's it.
Yeah. During COVID, that's what it was for me too. Living room, bed, and I
Oh,
was like, no, I got to figure this out. So I converted a room to my office. So yeah, nice little space.
yes. I love it. It looks like one of those virtual backgrounds, honestly. It's
Oh.
good.
Oh, that's
It
good. That's what I'm going
does.
for.
The kind that I use, the kind I download from Google.
Hey
Okay,
everyone.
I'm
I
gonna
see a
try
lot
to
of people
get.
joining in. I just saw Dr. Turner. She said she was trying to log in.
Okay, I'm gonna send her an invite again, and I might need
Okay.
you to let's see. All right, Dr. Turner, I just emailed you, or not emailed, I just invited you again. See
Okay.
how that works.
I see a lot of people joining.
I know. Hi!
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's so good
How
to
are
see
you?
you.
Hello.
How are
I'm
you?
I am good. I was trying to get it to work on my computer, but it didn't work. But this will work. So this is
good, good, good. I'm so glad you could join us. It's my first time meeting you. So
oh
yay.
yeah, awesome.
Good, good, good. I'm Carlita Joseph. I am the Chief Financial Officer for the Black School Site Network. Hey, hey.
Yes, and I will, I guess, yeah, let's just get started. So we see Carlita. Hey, Carlita. I am Krista Edwards. I am the Director of Programming and Community Outreach for BSPN. And we have a really special guest today. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name's April Turner. I was a school-based school psychologist in Baltimore City Schools. Now I'm doing private practice work. I'm also the Maryland NASP delegate, as well as the current School Psychologist of the Year for NASP. So I'm excited to join you guys. I'm excited for this group. I'm excited to be on with my Hampton alum. It's awesome. Uh,
I know.
I'm very homecoming that's coming up next week. So it's all great, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, one thing I was going to ask you while you were on here, and we won't let HU kind of take over this. But are you going to homecoming?
I am going to home.
I'm jealous. Please enjoy for me, turn up for me, and I want to see all the pictures and
Nice,
I
videos.
nice. You guys, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I've never been to a homecoming.
What?
Yeah, yeah, I've never been to a homecoming. I know, right? Cut your pearls. Never. I went to LIU, Long Island University, Brooklyn, and I never got to a homecoming. So you guys said BSPN, the summit is gonna be like a homecoming, so I can't wait.
there.
Yes. Yes, that is, I love that. I'm so glad you said that. Yes.
So
So,
I can't wait.
shameless plug. Make sure you register because homecoming is next April. Okay. 27th to the
There you go.
28th in
There you
Atlanta.
go.
Make sure you register. So, I mean, without further ado, should we just get, you want to jump into it? Are you good to jump into it?
Yeah,
Good.
let's get started.
Okay. So, I want to preface that I'm still in training and I have two well accomplished school psychologists on here with me. And I feel really honored, like, to even just be in this space with you all. So thank you for like the work that you've done and the work y'all continue to do. I really appreciate it. We look up to people like you, and I'm so happy that y'all are in this space.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I mean, I think to jump in a little bit, I think what recharges me is seeing graduate students. I don't know about like Carlita, but like I went through a program being the only person of color the entire time that I was in my program. And so
Wow.
I always think about what would I have wanted to hear, what would have kept me going, what would have just been helpful for me. And so I try to share that over text messages. A lot of people are like, just a text, even a text is just like, hang on, you're almost there. I need you in the field. I know it's hard now. And then sometimes just that statement of like, you got to just put your head down and get out. Like you got to, it's rough. It's not always easy, but put your head down and let's get out there and we can all kind of support each other once we're in the field as well as grad students. So that's my little plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten some of those
Absolutely.
messages from you and I appreciate it. Like,
Oh,
I
that's
really
nice.
do.
I need to get some of these messages too. I mean, I'm a working practitioner, but I want some of these messages too. Oh my goodness. No, it is really good. And you're actually right. We do want to hear those messages. My grad program, I went to LIU, Long Island University, Brooklyn. And it was a very diverse program. We had a lot of students of color. But I was like, this was my second career. So I was struggling hard, just like being a mom, being a wife, and trying to go to school and just doing all these different things while working. And just so I needed words of encouragement as well. And I got that from my professors. And it does make a difference. I was not trained. None of my professors looked like me in terms of ethnicity, but my professors did have an understanding of what we needed, and that I do appreciate that 100%. So yeah.
I
Yeah.
love these spaces and sharing that stuff. Well, I mean, I can jump into the first question. How about that?
Yeah,
Right.
let's do that.
Okay. So, what are the expectations of the role of a leader in school psychology?
And that's for you, Dr. Turner.
All right. Right out the gate.
Right out the gate.
I'm going to kind of push back on the question and just say that like being a leader in psychology, in school psychology, is what you make it. Leadership doesn't have this singular path. It doesn't have to be you are the supervisor, you are the lead school psychologist, it doesn't really come with a title necessarily. It's all about how you move in your practice. So when I think about leadership, maybe you are just the leader at an IP team. Like maybe you're just, that's how you lead. Maybe you are leading because you are a role model for a small group of kids that you are working with. That's how you're leading. Maybe you're leading because you are the person that pushed the envelope in a professional development training. You're the one that raises your hand and goes, ooh, I don't know if that's going to work for our kids. Like, that sounds great, but I don't know if that's going to work for the kids that I work with. Like, so I don't think that leadership has like this expectation as much as it is being true to yourself. As a professional, what does it look like for you? What does being a school psychologist mean to you? And then I think the other thing is one of the things that's key, maybe not an expectation, but important, is you have to be able to understand your surroundings. So you have to understand.
So true.
Can't always lead the way you want to in every situation. And I would say early in your career, you have to understand that and understand what that means. I feel like as you get later in your career, you have a better identity of who you are as a psych. And so then you buck against the rules and you don't really follow them. But you really have to know what situations you can speak up in and what situations you maybe need to give your power to someone else who has power in that space. So something I think about a lot when I'm in spaces is how can I give my power to someone else, or how can I amplify someone else's voice who doesn't have the same power and privilege that I have in this space. So it's always about like, I always think about how do I use my powers for good? So I'm in this space, I'm at this table, I'm in this conversation. How do I amplify people that aren't at this table for whatever reason? That forward. I feel like that was way off topic from the question, but that's what it is.
No, I think you answered that very well. It sounded like I heard a lot of like there's a lot of fluidity in being a leader. Sometimes you need to listen, and also sometimes you need to shake tables, and sometimes you need to navigate the spaces that you're in and knowing the space that you are in and how you can be most effective. Carlita, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Turner just like she gave a wonderful, response. And I could only, just piggyback on that again, going back to what's true to you and what, where seeing what you want to do and what your strengths are, and then working from there. Because you could be a leader from where you are. You don't have to, like Dr. Turner said, you don't have to be a supervisor. You don't have to be an administrator. I remember when I was in grad school, I told you guys, I struggled just putting things, just keeping up with the material. And so I was like, if I'm struggling, I know everybody else is struggling. So I like collected report templates or collected like homework things, and I had a Google Drive for everybody to go, and get to, so they could get information. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea. You're such a good leader. And I was like, leader? No, I just thought I could help, So just leading from where you are, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I heard
Yeah.
a leader and a learner, right? Like those two are not mutually exclusive. Like you can be a leader and a learner at the same time. Like, so wow.
Yes.
Well, Carly, do you want to go ask the second question, or do you want me to keep going?
Sure. So how can leaders contribute to the advancement and awareness of school psychology?
How can leaders contribute to that? I think it's being a school psychologist and being proud in your role. Like really thinking about, how do you let people know what school psychologists can do? How do you do that in your building, grad student, whatever, wherever you are? How do you do that? So it could look like you are putting like notices in teachers' mailboxes that say, I'm the school psychologist, come find me about things. It could be that you're just standing in the hallway during class changes. Maybe you're standing at a rival and you're just talking to kids. Maybe it's that you're partnering with a teacher. So it's about like how you are just being a good school psychologist really helps to advance that. And the more that you do that kind of at a day-to-day level, then the more that you'll be able to do it at a higher level. So then you'll do it at like NASP convention. So I always think about like when you're at NASP convention, talk to everybody that you interact with. I think there's this perception with like, I think about NASP leadership specifically, that you can't go talk to the NASP president when you see them, or you can't go talk to somebody. I always think about where everybody is on this level playing field. You see someone, you want to go have a conversation, walk up to them, have a conversation. And I always think about like, if you need to pull in, like if you're uncomfortable with that, because it can be a little intimidating, pull in a reference that you have. All of us came from programs with school psychology professors. You can say, oh, my professor said that you're great at such and such. I'd love to learn more about that. Like really trying to push yourself into that situation really helps to kind of amplify the field, because then you can go back to where your day-to-day practice is, talk about how you interacted with this person, what happened, and how you're going to elevate your practice. But I think it's just being visually present. And I think when I think about the three of us as like women of color, like sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes it's a girl or a boy in your school who sees you and all of a sudden they're your best friend. They want to come.
Yeah.
And so about like an awesome psych that you are, but sometimes it's because you're this Black girl who like is in this school and they just want to hang out with you. So that's like pushing school psychology forward.
I love that. I love that. That's such a great, I mean, I recently became on internship, and I'm at a high school, and I love high school, first of all, just because like those connections are so like, I don't know, they're different, like, and so I actually ended up buying this shirt, this Every Child Matters shirt, because last week we celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day, and I bought it from a student who designed the shirt, and that was a great opportunity for me to be like, hey, this is who I am, and like I know I look like your peer, but like I'm a professional, so that's such a good point.
Yeah, high school. I love high school, like you said, Krista. And I think Dr. Wood said the same thing. I love high school. This is my 4th year being in a high school. I started in elementary school. I love the babies. But when I switched to high school, I was like, oh, I love it here. Like, like the conversations that I'm having with these high school students and just, you know, talking about transition services and just all of it all around. I like the experience. And then even in talking about the advancement of and awareness of school psych, I've presented at like transition meetings for parents and families. And some of the kids come in and they're like, oh, we have a psychologist in the building? Yes, we do. Like we really do. And so giving them, you know, information about what it is that we do and just talking to them and things like that, it's an eye-opening experience, but I love doing it every single day. Like, so that's good.
Yeah, that's great. High schoolers, I am an elementary all day, every day. All the high schoolers. I think it takes a special school psychologist to work with high schoolers. And that is 3-year-olds, anything 3 to 8th grade, I got you. But I feel like sometimes great position where I'm, no, thank you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair, but we need like people like us in all of these spaces. Like, so we all can't be in high schools, right? Because then who is going to take care of the babies? So, absolutely. So, moving on to the next question. Any tips on balancing being in leadership while also being present for your loved ones? So, whether that's like your partner, your children, your parents, or other like life responsibilities, because life be lifing sometimes. Okay.
Who you telling? Oh my gosh. This for me, like I said, I told you it was already in grad school with kids and husband. It's just about creating that supportive network for me and just being clear with everyone in that network about those expectations. Like, okay, guys, I'm gonna take on this new role. So that means when my door's closed, don't come knocking, you know, just being clear about those expectations. And making sure that there are people in my corner to pick up things that I can't necessarily get to that I would have. That it's 100% has helped me move on to where I want to go. And then also just like pre-planning, I cook my meals on Sunday until oblivion, and so I don't have to worry about it during the week. But just pre-planning everything and making sure that everything has a time, order, a space, and sticking to my schedule. Sometimes that gets hard, Crystal, you know.
Yeah.
but that's just working for me right now.
Yeah. Dr. Turner, what about you?
I think you try to make time for both of them. I think a lot about like when work isn't going great and home or outside of work life is going well, it balances out. So I try to like have something that refills your bucket, like when you are outside of work, because I always think about work will always be there. It will always be the next morning. That time and experience with your loved ones, like is almost priceless. So like really try to cultivate some of that time, because the work will always be there. It'll always be there, whether it's grad school or an assessment or whatever, it will be there. Tomorrow morning, take the evening off or hang out or whatever.
That is so
That
true.
is true. That's very true.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, is there a caveat for graduate school? But I think you both kind of like hit it on the head. Like I heard boundaries, I heard, you know, making a schedule, I heard, you know, being like present in like your work, but also being present outside of your work too. So you can acknowledge like when things are good in one and maybe when things are not so good, which are some things I need to definitely work on. So it's good to hear this.
That was helpful for me in grad school, that I like had someone kind of tell me, so I always share it, is that no one will ask you how long you are in graduate school. No one asks it after you're done. So if you have to redo comprehensive exams, or you have to take another class, or you took an assessment class twice, or whatever happens, when you are done, nobody on your job interview is like, why did it take you 5 years or 7 years? No,
really
nobody.
True.
But
I was gonna ask.
Because I know when you're in grad school, you're like, oh my God, and your friends, people are gonna know. Nobody's gonna know.
No one's gonna know.
Yeah.
No one's gonna know.
But when you're in that space, you feel that way. And so I always try to be like, you have to get out, you have to be proficient at what you do, but like if it takes you longer, it just takes you longer.
Mm.
That's okay.
This is so true. I'm over here really like, this is therapeutic for me. I don't know if it's therapeutic for y'all in the chat, but like, I'm like, dang. I hope my partner's not on here because she's gonna be like, see, did you hear what Dr. Turner said? You need to be
Yeah.
the accountability is coming.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
yeah.
remind yourself to ask. I think the only maybe the only time it slightly matters is when you're getting ready to go on internship. Like sometimes they ask you on interview, like, you know, what happened, but
Yeah.
No one cares. That's so true. No one cares.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Perspective
That's good
is so
advice.
important. Yeah, it really is. So thank you for that.
That's
Carlita,
good.
you want to get into the next one?
Sure, but I do want to say to Dr. Turner that was really good advice, especially for someone who is thinking about a doctoral program. And I'm put it out there. I just turned 40 and I'm like, I'm gonna take forever. It's gonna take me forever. But even just hearing that, it's like no one's gonna ask. No one cares. So that's really good. All right. Okay. All right. So we have a question and it says, I'm a school psychologist and interested in a leadership role within my district, but my supervisor doesn't believe I'm qualified. What are some words of advice on how to navigate this situation?
Whew. So I think there's two different perspectives with this one. I think it is, what does that mean? So there is a point of self-reflection. So this person doesn't think that you're qualified, whatever qualified means, but take a moment and be reflective on that. Like, what might that person mean? Does it mean that like you need to get more training in a particular area or more experience or more kind of experience with like assessment or something? So that's kind of one perspective. So like receive it and think about what that might be. And then after you've done that self-reflection and you feel like your qualifications are solid, then reach out for whatever that leadership position is. Something that Celeste Malone says often is you're applying for a position. You're applying for a leadership role. You're not going against someone else. You're not taking a position from someone else. You're applying for a position. And so if you feel that you're qualified for that, then apply for the position. If you think that you are halfway qualified for the position, apply for the position. And what the beauty of school psychology is that there are so many opportunities in leadership, especially even at the school-based level, at district levels, that if you're in a space where it's maybe not as supportive, look at other avenues for leadership. What does that look like in other situations? Something I also am pretty adamant about when it comes to leadership is that our field is approaching this retirement kind of boom. So like, if you reflect on like who your supervisors or professors, those kind of things, then they're about to retire. Like if you listed them all out, like 8 of them are about to retire. So I always talk about like, how do you get ready to roll into those leadership positions? Because when they retire, you can't apply and say, I'm waiting on getting my admin certification. I'm waiting on such and such. You have to be like ready because those positions are going to open up very rapidly. And if that's something you want to pursue, you have to like get ready for that. And whether that is like seeking out, like in Maryland, we have an administrative certificate that you can get. So like it would be equivalent to being an assistant principal. So if that's something that's interested to you, go ahead and get that certification. If it is NASP leadership, if it is APA leadership, figure out how you get involved in that. I volunteer myself and lots of other NASP leaders. Call us, reach out to us, send me an email and say, hey, I want to get involved. I am really, really pushing this idea of like, I will bring you to a meeting. I will bring you to
or even your state organization.
Your state delegate, any of those people. reach out to them and figure out how you begin to stack kind of your resume so that you can continue to apply for these positions. And the only thing that you lose by applying to a position, well, I would argue there's nothing you lose, but you also get that experience of what it's like. What is it like to interview? What is it like if you're going into academia? What is it like to do to teach, to show a lesson? And you may get into that and say, I really love this. And then you may get into it and be like, this is not for me. But you don't know unless you put yourself out there.
Yeah, you won't know it until you try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, Dr. Wood also said the same thing. You join and get involved in state organizations. And Dr. Malone, closed mouth don't get fed. Absolutely right. You got to try. You got to try. Yep. Network, build those relationships. This is so true. So true.
Yep.
Yeah.
If we have time, I would love for you both, because you both are such key figures in state associations and on that type of level. So I would love for you both to share just a little bit of how you got there, because I actually don't know y'all stories. I feel like a lot of people don't. So once we get through these questions, I'm like, can y'all please like spare a few minutes for the people to tell us like how you got there?
Yeah.
Okay, you know, I had to get consent for it first. Okay, so okay.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on. So the next question is, how do you keep yourself and your team motivated despite obstacles and conflicts?
And whenever we have a meeting, like we've had chapter meetings as like regional within our state organization, and I always do a check-in when we start. And I learned this from Dr. Stacy Williams. Check in to see where everybody is, where their emotions are, like where their headspace is before even getting down to business. So you kind of like level the playing field almost. You set those intentions. Everyone is grounded. Everything else that's happening in the world, we can talk about it, we can discuss it, but you know, we're unpacking it, putting it to the side, and then getting ready to work, if that makes sense. So I'm starting to do that a little bit to help. Obviously, I need a little bit more work on it, but I'm starting to do that, and I'm reading up on how to get that done. And again, meeting people where they are when I start this meeting so that I can get rid of whatever else is happening in the world or whatever else is happening with them that may conflict with the work that we need to get done.
I would agree with that. I mean, really checking in with people, knowing where they are, and also knowing yourself as a leader. So if that's not something that you do internally, it's not something that is your immediate go-to, then use delegation. Have someone else lead that check-in experience so that you still get that information, but it's not something that like you have to remember to do or is like really hard for you. Delegate that out. A good example, people that have been in meetings with me, often I'm not a fan of icebreakers. I understand cognitively why they are important. I understand how they support meeting development. I get all of that on a cognitive level. Just as an individual, I don't like them. So
that's good to know.
Delegate them out. I delegate it out. Like I don't lead icebreakers because I've also, this is where I think in the beginning, Krista talked about being a learner and a leader. I've gotten direct feedback that because I don't like icebreakers, I don't lead them very well. And so I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So when it comes to icebreakers, someone else, every meeting I have, someone else is in charge of that. I always participate because again, I know why they're important. I get the cognitive part of it, but I just don't personally like them. So I think check-ins are really big. Something I do personally is I tend to do a lot of mailing of like thank you notes or little notes in the mail. And I just like find your address, put a stamp on it and mail it out. And it's a nice way to build community. It's a nice way to kind of have people feel seen. And for me, I'll do it while I'm like watching TV. So it's not something that I'll write out a little thank you note. Thanks for coming to the meeting. I appreciated what you said, something like that. put a stamp on it, and then I just mail it out. So that's a way that I try to build some of that like community, and then just lots and lots of check-ins.
Yeah.
And learning to read the room. If everybody looks bored or over it, then just be done.
Move on.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I like all of those answers, really. I feel like, oh yeah, I see in the chat, delegation is an important skill when you're a leader. That's something I just learned. I'm like, but it makes so much sense, because how effective can you be, again, if you're taking on maybe something that you just really don't care to do, or maybe something that you don't have the capacity to do, or you don't have the training, or what have you, like,
Right.
delegate it out. Like, it doesn't make you less of a leader. It actually makes you a strong individual, because you can admit when maybe you're not the person for the role.
That's so true. And it also will help relieve some of that stress, because then if you're taking on all the work, you're stressed out about it, just if you can delegate that out, then yeah, it's less stress for you.
Mm-hmm. Getting into them
Yep.
boundaries. Well, we have we have one more question that's on our list. And so Carlita, you want to take it?
All right. So
Or not?
so how do you silence the voice of imposter syndrome as you climb the leadership ladder?
Oh. Do you want me to try this one?
Yeah, both of you. I have to hear both of you. Both of you have to respond to this, okay? Please. For the delegation, please.
I think in transparency, it's not easy. I don't think me or Carlita are going to have this answer that you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, and it's going to be over. That's just not reality, to be honest. It's just not. I think some practical things that I do is I really surround myself with a really strong support network that I reach out to, that I bounce ideas off of, that I connect with, that really, really helps. I also really try to save positive notes I've gotten. So whether it's a note from a teacher, a note from a coworker, a note from a kid, I try to keep those, because they really are what motivate you when you feel like you're not being successful, or you're not prepared for something or something like that. I think those are really things to lean on. And then I guess finally, just trust your training and your knowledge base. Like, you wouldn't have gotten out of grad school if you couldn't do it. Like, they don't just let random people be school psychologists. Like, it's just not a thing. So trust that your training is strong, and that you are in a space for a reason, and that your voice is powerful in that space. If your voice wasn't needed in that space, they wouldn't invite you, or they would just tell you to leave, to be honest. But like, believe that your voice is important in that space. And so like, I think support network, some kind of words of encouragement that you have in your space, whatever that is. And then trusting your training. I think Dr. Wood talked about trusting the process, like,
yeah,
just trying to lean into like, I deserve to be here. I've taken a class on this. I can do this. And then just keep pushing. Like, you just kind of, you keep pushing at that, and then, but rest when you need to. Like, you have to believe that the fight continues even if you step back and take a rest. Like, you don't have to lead the train all the time. You don't have to be the one in the front. Like, you can take a step back and the train continues to go. You have to kind of believe that. I'm sorry, one more thing. My sister always gives this really good analogy about kind of social justice work. And so what she talks about is that everybody has a different role in the work. So an example might be like a protest, right? And so I am not the one to protest with the sign in the street. That's not my ministry. I'm not going to do that. However, what I am going to do is all the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm going to figure out, which street do you need to protest on? Where's the permit? What do we do if it's raining? Do we need water? Do we need these other things? And I think we have to really remember that all of those parts are important in moving the work forward, whether it is social justice stuff, whether it's school psychology, all of those are important. And if one of those doesn't kind of align with you, then you pick a different one. And if you need to sit back and just catch your breath, then that's also okay. So I think sometimes we feel like we have to be on 24/7 and leading the fight all the time. And that's just not reality. It also burns you out. So don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Glad you brought up burnout.
Burnout is real. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Carlita,
do you want to add anything?
For me, I'm still getting through this imposter syndrome. And like you said, it's the network of support. And I have those people in my corner. It's like, you got this, you know this, same things. You graduated, you finished your program, you know these things, you've taken classes. Like, so I need that sometimes. And then also I have to learn to not compare myself to others. Like, oh, well, so-and-so, we're around the same age, or we graduated around the same time. So I have to learn not to do that and just only compare myself to me, where I was as a school psychologist last year from where I am today, and the strides that I have made and the knowledge that I have gained. And so that's a continual process within me. And I continue to do that. And I do suggest that people do the same thing. Just look at where you were a few years ago or last year. Because I'm pretty sure if you look at a report that you wrote, your first year out from, 2 years, you're like, oh my gosh, this is, so just again, comparing yourself to where you were from before to today. And then that helps me to move through that process. But I'm still learning every day, just like everybody else.
Yep.
I mean, you mentioned even a report. I'm like, ooh, that's one thing I can relate to. A report I wrote 2 years ago to a report I wrote now.
You can
Such
see
a
that
good point.
growth.
So like, yeah, this is a question that's, even so relevant for graduate students as well, like no matter where you are in your process. And I was told, like, whenever you get into a new position, like folks who have been in the field for over 20 years, if they have taken on a new position or a new role or something new, like they still can get that imposter syndrome. Like I heard it just doesn't necessarily go away. Like, it just might look different at a different time of your life, your trajectory.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good to hear all of these like strategies for coming from you all who are at different stages in your career. And I think we, as grad students, we can apply them, but even folks who are more tenured in the field can also apply them too.
Yeah.
So.
And then also, sorry to cut you off, Krista, also having a mentor at every stage, like just where you want to be, a mentor, someone in the field of where you want to be or where you want to go, having a mentor also, helps, because that'll help you to align what you want and then what the steps you need to take, where you want to go and things like that. So having that mentor, absolutely.
Yeah. That is so true. Yes. I mean, and I pride myself being a Hampton alum, but I also pride being a Hampton alum because I gained so much mentorship out of from Hampton. Like I still have faculty that they check in with me like every week, like, hey, sis, how you doing? Like, it really is, especially for like people of color, students of color, I can speak kind of for, mentorship is so key. Like, and from what I'm hearing from you, Carlita, is that even as you like go, you become more advanced, it's still a benefit to have mentorship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to let them go.
Don't.
Okay, great.
Nope.
Well, I know that we have a few more minutes. I just really wanted to see if you all can speak a little bit to how you got to where you are. And then from the lens of being a leader and like taking on different roles and like, I don't know, just kind of share. There's not a specific question, but you both are well, actually, I'll let you reintroduce where you're currently at, the role that you currently have, and kind of give us a little, share what you want about how you got there.
You can go ahead and take the
Oh,
floor, Dr.
Carlita,
Turner.
I was gonna say, who wants to go first?
Huh?
All right. It
Go
sounds
ahead,
like
go ahead, take the floor, Dr. Turner.
I've
Okay.
been voluntold to go first. So, I think that my journey has been a lot about asking questions about why things are happening, why school psychologists are at the table, are not at the table. And I guess specifically for me, I did my graduate work in Nebraska. I did my internship right outside of Chicago with the Illinois School Psychology Consortium. And then I took a job in Baltimore City. And I remember going to the first state association meeting. Kind of went on a whim, like I had a colleague or two that invited me. And I remember sitting in the room for a board meeting and being one of 2 or 3 Black women in the room. And I remember distinctly thinking, this is Maryland. This is not Nebraska. There are lots of major cities in Maryland. Where are all the Black school psychologists? Like, why are they not involved in this meeting? What's happening? And so I started asking questions like, why are they not here? How can I get in contact with them? Where, and part of it was me being upset and kind of outraged about it. I think several people maybe will share this experience. Coming from a graduate program where I was the only person, I was really excited to get to a place where that wouldn't be the case. And so to get there and it was the case was just very, very frustrating for me. So I used that to begin asking questions, and that's what kind of got me involved. So I started asking questions about where were they, how are they involved, how can we invite them, those kind of things. And so that led me to attend more state meetings. People that know me well know that it's very hard for me to stay quiet in meetings. So I continued to ask lots of questions. And when you ask lots of questions, people pick you to lead things. And so then I was asked to be the chair of the diversity committee for our state organization. And so then I used that to kind of develop some go-to kind of projects that we did every year, and kind of how that evolved. And then I had a colleague of mine suggest that I run for delegate. Like I think it was like a 1-sentence email that said, you should run for NAS delegate. And so I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And then I had a different colleague say to me, I think you're too early in your career to run for delegate. At this point, I think I maybe had been practicing for 3 or 4 years, maybe four. And I think for me, that like lit a fire under me because I immediately was like, how dare you think that I can't do this?
Right.
The nerve.
So that kind of like really lit a fire under me for kind of delegate. And then really thinking about what does delegate mean and how do I really amplify the voices of school psychologists in Maryland? And so I spent a lot of time like talking to people and like what's important and what does NAS need to know and like how does all that kind of move forward. So that's kind of like how I got there. And then I just wanted to make sure that I understood leadership theory and like leadership experiences, which then led me to do the administrative certificate, which is what you need in Maryland to do, to be like an assistant principal or like a director of school psychology or something like that. So I think those were the things that really like got me on that path. And then I realized I really enjoy it. I mean, I really enjoy like the leadership and the advocacy part of it. So I've just kind of continued to push that path forward.
Wow. Thank you so much for
You're
sharing.
welcome.
And
That's nice. Thank you.
remind our listeners of your role right now?
Sure. I am the school psychology supervisor for the Maryland State Department of Education.
Hello. Okay. That's
All right.
major.
That is
Okay.
a small portion of all the other things that I honestly, that are very important to me outside of that. To me, I consider that's my day job. Like so many of
Yeah.
other things are really the things I'm passionate on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Carlita, we got you. Come on now. Come on now.
Okay. So I told you about going to school at LIU Brooklyn. And again, I just thought I need information. I'm pretty sure my colleagues also needed information. So I started gathering stuff. And my professor, Andrew Levanis, saw this and was like, "Oh yeah, you're a leader." And I'm like, I don't know what you mean, leader. No, I just see that there's a need and I need to fulfill the need. And so he voluntold me for the student rep position within NIAS. And I've been there ever since. And I've always, again, just found a need for information or a need for something that needed to be translated or disseminated to the greater population. And so I've continued my journey. And now I am president-elect of NIAS, yay, which I'm
Like,
super
what?
excited about.
This is crazy.
Super
Like, I'm
excited
really,
about.
I mean, I'm sorry. Do you have anything? I mean, I just, wow. I'm blown away.
Yes, Dr. Malone, student leadership, literally, because I never would have thought that was something that was for me. And I got into the leadership role and studying different things and just getting to know more about myself in this journey. And I'm here. So that's it.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much to the both of you for sharing your stories. I'm like, you all are on some pretty high levels. Like, let's not even downplay it. Y'all are on some pretty high levels. And I thought it would be really great for us to know, like, how'd you get there? Like, how'd you get there? And it seems like, I mean, I heard student leadership, I heard asking questions, like acknowledging that there's a need, almost like I did like the whole like problem solving, problem identification,
Yep.
problem. I'm like,
Mass
oh, that's
practice
how y'all
model.
got
Yep.
here. Look at that.
Yeah.
I learned a little something in school, So, well, yeah, I mean, as we wrap up, I don't know if there's anything that you all have to add before we kind of wrap up. Anything? I know that in a second, I'm going to ask you all to let the viewers know how to get in contact with you. But one thing that I wanted to reiterate to our audience is our vision. And so this is a part of our vision. Like, the vision of Black School Psychologists Network is to support, elevate, and advance the work of Black school psychologists, like, period. And that's an all-encompassing term for those who are trainees, those who are interested. Like, everyone can really benefit from a lot of the information that we just heard from you two. So thank you. Please, Dr. Turner, how can we get in touch with you? Shout out your social medias.
Yep. So I'm going to give a different plug. I'm going to put this in the atmosphere that I think that Carlita and several other state association leaders should submit a presentation for NASP about what it's like to be a leader of color for a state organization. Like, I know, like, I just think about, so if you're going to be president-elect next year, that's New York. Dr. Wood's going to be president in Maryland, so that's Maryland. And I'm sure there's several others. I know the current president in Pennsylvania. So I think it would be really good to get a presentation together to talk about your journey, your experiences, like anything like that, I think would be helpful. Because to Krista's point, it almost demystifies it, because I think there's this perception that, like, we did this magical thing over here and that's how we got here. When in reality, like, we stumbled and someone pushed us and said, do this. And we were like, we don't think so, but okay.
Oh, but okay. And we did it, right. And Dr. Malone just said Virginia also is a person of color. So this is, you guys, yes, we got to get together. You heard what Dr. Turner said. We were voluntold to do this. Let's get it going.
Yes. And people like me, we need to see this. Hello. Like, 'cause I'm like, y'all, I mean, even Dr. Malone, I'm like, how y'all just get to these places? It's like, where's the boat? Like,
Mhm.
tell me
Where's
where's
the
the
boat?
train? Because I need to get on it. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah,
It's the mentor that you have telling you to do
Yep.
stuff. That's what it is.
Yep.
yes, absolutely.
And I'll
Okay,
remember
so
this, Krista, when I send you a text message and I'm like, you should do this. And you're like, I don't think so. I'm gonna be like, no, I think you should. Here's the application. Here's the application.
it's crazy because I actually do that to like my high school students.
Mhm.
So I'm like, oh my God, I am that person.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
Like it's
Yep.
cultural. It's cultural.
Mhm.
So Dr. Turner, what's your social media handles or anything?
So the probably the easiest way, I do have a Twitter, that's Dr. Turner 2012. And then I also, and I'll share this with, I don't know. Also, my email is probably the best way. My Twitter is probably the most public facing like social media that I have. And then secondary to that would just be my email address. And I'm going to give this plug. You can look up my email address if you log into NASP and look under the membership information.
There you go.
And that's
There
how
you
you
go.
get my email. Or if you know someone on this call and they text you, I'll text it to you. But like, check the NASP first.
Nice. So how to
Love
get in
that.
contact
Love
with
that.
me? You have to get on to the BSPN website and look for me
Ooh.
there. Ooh. I'm
Mhm.
Chief Financial Officer of BSPN as well as President-elect for NIASP. So you can find me at BSPN or you can find me at NIASP, which is the New York Association of School Psychologists.
Yes, thank you so much. And you can find me on the BSPN Instagram as well. And if you're not following us, make sure you hit that follow button. We have a lot of upcoming things. Make sure you're registered for the Black School Psych Summit. It is in April of next year, the 27th to the 28th. You don't want to miss it, okay?
You guys
Like,
don't want to miss it at all.
yeah.
Remember, I
You
said
know,
I've never been to homecoming, right? This is going to be our homecoming. So I have to be there. We're going to be there. You can't miss it.
You know that feeling when you go to NASM and you're like, wow, look at all of these Black school psychologists. It's like going to be that times 25 in a space in Atlanta, okay? So you already know it's going down, okay? Like, it's the A. So please check us out. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at www.bspninc.com. And there you'll find all of the information. We send out really fancy newsletters, but we will not spam you, we promise. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you ladies coming and just like being vulnerable and sharing your journeys and answering these kind of tough questions because I feel like for me, they kind of would have been triggering. Like, yep, I had to go through this, But thank you so much. And I think that's it. I think we're gonna sign off. Y'all got anything else?
I put the link in the chat, www.bspninc.com, so you guys can go there to register for the conference and reach out to myself or to Krista or anybody else on the BSPN team. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Turner is amazing. Thank you. Krista, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, one last thing. We please submit your poster presentation submission. Please. And if you want to volunteer and be a abstract reviewer, you can shoot me a DM or you can DM the Black SPS. You can DM our Instagram too. Okay. So, all right. Well, you all have a good night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.